Hello, everyone. I'm Sam, and I'm the CRO here at bookkeepers.com, home of the Bookkeeper Launch course. And today I'm joined by 5 very special guests. These are Bookkeeper Launch alum that go way back. Melissa Trafford, Kim Eric, Kirsten Reeder, Jeremy Van Grohl, and Chris Cochina. All 5 of these lovely folks have taken the BL course, currently run their own bookkeeping business, and have been very successful with that. And kind of related to today's topic, have all met each other at BL work conferences and other conferences, despite being from different parts of the country. And so that's really what we're here to talk about today, is the importance of gathering in person for work conferences, not just for the sake of, networking and learning, but also for just the camaraderie. I think that that's something, especially now today, that's amiss in the business world. I think that getting in person is a great way to both recharge yourself and also let loose a little bit. So I just wanted to give a brief introduction, but if y'all want to say something here, if not, we can edit this out and then move on.
So should we just introduce ourselves then, Sam?
Yeah, just introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Kim. I run Hometown Business Services. I started in Virginia and now I'm in Arkansas, and I have met all these lovely people at conferences, and it's great to share adult beverage with each of them.
Which I'm sure y'all will do at GrowCon.
Yes, for sure.
We don't do that.
We don't do that. I'm Kirsten Reeder. I run Purple Sapphire Business Solutions. We are a bookkeeping and tax firm. I'm originally from Arkansas, yes, but I've always had my business in Colorado. But we work virtually, like all over the place. So
very nice.
And yes, I know I've met all of you lovely people, some of you more than others. I had dinner with Chris just the other night, actually.
Very nice.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Yeah.
Well, I am Melissa Trafford. I am the owner of Cutting Edge Accounting Services, where I do bookkeeping, tax prep, payroll, CFO services, all that good stuff. And I have also got a chance to hang out with all of these amazing people and learn from them and grow, and just really, really honored and excited to be here today. So thank you.
I'm Chris Cochina, the owner of Live Free Bookkeeping, when I started this journey, I was in Wisconsin, and now I'm a digital nomad currently in Utah. And it's been great meeting with all these people.
And Jeremy Van Grohl, owner of Nonprofit Bookkeeping. I am not as smart as Chris, and I am in Wisconsin and stayed in Wisconsin. But I honestly, like Chris and I, were probably 100 miles apart, and I never met him until we got to connect at one of the great events that we're talking about. So now blessed to be able to consider a friend and be jealous that he is nomading all the places that I can't go.
Awesome. Well, thank you for introducing yourselves and sharing a little bit about you guys. It's so funny. I've met all you guys too at the various conferences that we did, which we used to do BKX, bookkeepers.com did. And we stopped doing that a couple of years ago, but we're still attending, hosting, and joining other conferences. We're going to GrowCon this May, actually, May 2nd through the 4th. And so what we wanted to talk about today is just the importance and benefit of going to these in-person networking events, these conferences, especially if you're working from home, a digital nomad. It can be hard to meet in person with your peers and colleagues, but these are often a great opportunity to take your business to the next level, not just from the things that you learn, but from the experience that you have and the people that you meet. So I want to kick this off by just asking the first question. What was your first conference that you ever attended, and what was the expectation that you had for it versus how it really went?
I know mine, and this is where I met Jeremy, was, well, okay, bookkeeping wise or all over, like any conference.
I would say in the bookkeeping world, because that's the common thread here.
Right. So my first bookkeeping conference was Bookkeeper Boost. Sam, you may remember. I know you probably, because your dad was not happy about the results of that one, but I thought it was great. And that's where I met Jeremy and a whole bunch of other amazing people. And there were about maybe 50, 75 people there. It was not very big. It was small. But I remember before that conference, I thought I was an introvert. And then I know, Melissa, you're laughing. I know. I learned that I get hyped up when I'm around people that I have things in common with and that are feeding me. And So ever since then, I've been a recovering introvert.
Recovering
Now I'm
introvert.
not in that world at all. Now I'm like totally an extrovert. So, whatever.
Go ahead, Jeremy. Tell us all about what happened there. Not your first one.
I brought up the email.
How did you turn me into an extrovert, Jeremy?
So I had to bring it up. That was 2017 when we
Yeah.
met at Boost, and that was my first one as well. And again, in this entrepreneur business world, been in a lot of other ones that I also equally hated. No, I was an introvert, still an introvert, right? So it was extremely hard for me to go to this, right? And still, other than the wonderful faces that I get to see and spend time, it's still hard to go to these for me. It is draining. At the end of the day, I need to relax with some friends and a beverage just to get back to a nice, comfortable mental state. But I do remember like Kirsten, and then a lot of people maybe organized with the group know Justin Boynton. Those were like a couple people that I talked to. I think Jaime I met there as well, and I talked to him a little bit too. But yeah, it was challenging for me, but I left, and like now, and I think we talk about a lot. I talk with Kirsten and some of the other people a lot, is that now like some of the people I met then and since then at these are closer friends to me than friends I've been friends with for 30 years, right? Just because there's so much more we have in common, and just being on the day-to-day, somewhat isolating path of an entrepreneur. Even my wife, who doesn't just can't understand some of these things, where if you get on a call with some of these people, they get it, right? They get the days when you want to burn it down. They get when they see the little trajectories that just stack and make you grow as a person and as a business. So yeah, it's been amazing. And now this is why even though again, when I'm signing up for them and I'm walking in the door, I hate myself, but just bring myself to do it every time, right? Just it's been awesome.
That's so surprising because you're usually the life of the party. I mean, you and another guest that we'll have on later on, Tyler Otto, but y'all are like the spark plugs there.
I
He
appreciate
gives
that.
the best hugs too, just so you know.
Oh,
But so I think my first one was kind of a recording for Money Score, so I don't know if I really want to count that. So I'm going to go straight to BKX as my first one. So I've been to all of them. So I went to the first one. My expectation, because of having done some of the screen recording course ones with Ben and having met some of the people, it was really about reconnecting with them for me.
mm-hmm.
Solidify those relationships, and really making sure I found like an accountability partner that was in the same trajectory as me, because each of us grew at different rates, and maybe that first person didn't really align anymore. So you're constantly kind of picking what you want. I think that the biggest surprise to me was I'm not as extroverted as I thought I was, because I needed to recharge, like Jeremy was talking about, I definitely needed liquid courage to get out there and do things. So yeah.
That's surprising, Kim.
Yeah. I'm a social extrovert. I can be very, outgoing and talk to anyone, but realistically, end of the day, it does not rejuvenate me.
Oh, okay.
That's relatable.
That's fair.
Melissa and Chris, when was the first time y'all went to a BKX or similar Bookkeepers launch event?
So I'm newer to the group here. Mine was, I think, in 2023. So I started in August, I think, of 2022. And so I hit the next one in 2023. And I am an extrovert. I am motivated by people. That's why I think sometimes this business is really difficult for me, because I'm alone so much. And I'm like, who wants to hang out? Who wants to sing karaoke? Who wants to grab a drink? Who wants to talk, accounting, all that kind of stuff? Yes.
Where are you, Melissa? You need to come to Denver. We can hang out.
I would love that. Yeah. So I think for me, I'm scared. Just because you're an extrovert doesn't mean that you don't walk into these conferences with all these amazing, talented, and gifted people, and you're thinking, do I belong here? Am I going to be okay? Do I know as much as all of these people around me that seem to be so knowledgeable in something that I think I know? But it really gave me an opportunity to learn from people and to grow even more, and just exciting, just all the different things, Ben used to always, don't go for the shiny things. But there is a time in your business where those things are needed. It's just, you have to know when to implement them and when not to. And so these conferences really kind of give you the momentum to see, like, am I there yet? Am I not? I wouldn't miss them. Like, I wouldn't miss them for anything. Like, it's like on my calendar. As soon as I see it, boom, I'm in.
Yeah. One of the things that you mentioned, you walk into a room and you're like, oh my gosh, do I know as much as everybody else? You never want to be the smartest one in the room. Like, I surround myself with people way smarter than me so that I can learn from them. And then I just put on a good show and act like.
That's why we hang out with Jeremy.
I'm smart. Yeah.
We are smart because we all do these conferences. So
yeah,
right there.
Yeah, that's all.
One was BKX. I'm pretty sure I met everybody except for Melissa. I must have met her in the following year, but that was the second year of BKX, I believe, and Nelson Bridges was there, and they kind of when their intros, I was like, what am I doing? What is this? This is a bookkeeping conference? And so BKX obviously exceeded my expectations. I am kind of an extrovert, but I can be introverted too. But for me, I like the social side of this business, so I've always liked. After I got over the initial networking hump, I really liked it because it was a chance for me to get out of my business, talk with other people, learn, and yeah, that's why I love going to these conferences. I know I left that first one incredibly inspired. I was like, I want to talk at one of these things. And sure enough, a couple of years later, I got an opportunity to speak. I also remember the mastermind conversation, and I actually went onto the Facebook page, and I was like, does anybody want to start a mastermind? And I don't know how many masterminds have started, but I do know ours have started, and Kirsten is still in my mastermind to this day. So there's all kinds of ripple effects when you go to these events. It gets you. And another thing I really like is the course stop. I'm sure all of us are guilty of just grinding and continuing to work on the business. And if it wasn't for these conferences, you might not take that little extra time to step away from the business and just think about the business in ways that can rejuvenate us when we get back. We can kind of reorient ourselves and set a business off in the right direction. So I love going to them now. I was really sad when BKX came to a close, but now I just got to find the next best one and I can see my people.
There you go. And actually, it's funny you say that about speaking at one of the BKXs, because that was 2023 in Dallas, and that's where I first got introduced to you, and you did a breakout session. So that was the first thing that came to my mind as you were talking, and then you mentioned it. So yeah, everything that y'all have mentioned is stuff that you just can't do when you're online. The relationship you get there, like you said, Kirsten, finding yourself surrounded by people smarter than you and just growing from that. It's like having a gym partner versus working out alone. You just get all the more out of it. So that makes me think of another question. So during these sessions, you're getting a lot of guest speakers, you're getting a lot of topics covered, but I think really it's the time in between that you make the biggest difference and what really is worth its weight in gold when attending a conference. So do y'all remember any of the most valuable conversations or relationships that you had because of getting paired with someone at a lunch table or after session hangout or in the hallway? Talk a little bit about that.
So I have a breakfast buddy. And so her and I both figured out early on that we both are early risers by finding each other having breakfast at our first one. So now we get together for each one. This fantastic lady, Randy Ballin, you guys know her.
Yes.
Right?
Randy.
Buds. So, but it's interesting because her journey has gone so different direction, with starting a nonprofit and doing this and that. She's kind of like become that serial entrepreneur where I feel like maybe she's outgrown me. But I'm like, no, holding on because she just has such valuable insight. She's so just genuine and down to earth when you talk to her because they're so, sometimes you just need that reality check. Let's go with reality check. Are we going in the right direction? What was your challenge, with your first hire, when you start having those conversations, because, we all started off as solo practices and I think as you add people and other things into that mix, having someone that's been there, done that is huge. And I know when she went through, adding an actual bookkeeping partner into the firm, talking about that and that transition for her, really made me consider a lot of different things for my business. I didn't ultimately go that direction, but it's great to have those conversations. And that was probably, just every time it's something new with her, that really gives me perspective of something else to think about.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, and Randy's a great lady.
I can't remember like a specific conversation necessarily, but I think one of the big takeaways, and you get reminded every time you go, is that everybody's just like you. Like, we all have very similar problems. And sometimes you think you're the only one that has your problem, or like
You're the only one that clients won't send bank statements.
Yeah, and then you find out like everybody is very similar boat, and so from there it's easier to work off of those problems. So once you recognize, okay, I'm not alone here, you can partner up with people. So nothing specific, but that's one of the big things.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeremy, what about you? You've been quiet for a minute.
I think some of the best advice that I got, and it was from our mutual friend Melissa, is like, you need to make the conference experience yours, right?
Yes.
So what are you there for? Like, check the agenda, and if there are certain topics you're struggling with, right, or you want to learn more about, go to those things. But the rest of it should be you time to focus on what's important to you. So like, she was a big one that like, hey, I need to go take a nap for 3 hours in the middle of this conference, and I went and did that, right? So cool. For me, it's like connecting with these people, but also like getting to know the vendors, right? Like, what is cool tools that we can have out there? And everyone, especially early in this space, are scared of the vendors too, because they're like, oh God, they're going to try to hoodwink me into this thing or whatnot. But the vendors are just like us, right? Like, they're just like, hey, we just want to inform you if it's the right thing that's out there. So I've made a lot of friends with that group as well. So I think that is extremely important. So yeah, I mean, that's what stands out for me is like, not even just the speakers that are there. If they're there, that's cool. And if there's a session that I like, but how do I connect with these people? How do I meet more people like this? And include those vendors in that, because they can be uberly helpful. Because if you haven't had it yet, if you find that right tool, and not necessarily the right tool, but the correct tool that fix that pain for you, and you make that relationship that they then listen to you for future pains that can help you in the future, that's amazing as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Hey, go ahead.
I'll second that. Meeting the vendors is actually something that's underrated. It's definitely helpful to put a name. Sometimes you meet people that you guys had email conversations with.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I'm still friends with some of the vendors from the first BKX, like Cassie LaFleur, who used to be with Go Proposal, and now she's with somebody else. I forget. We're still friends on Facebook.
Very good.
Well, and I was going to say, and sometimes, those in between sessions, if there's something you enjoy doing, you just plan it and people will come, you know? So Jeremy, Kirsten, and I, Melissa, have like love of karaoke, right? And so, anytime we got together, I was like, where's the karaoke bar, right? And so, everyone knows and loves Keeper Karaoke, but it's because of that vendor relationship. We invited the Kenny and Ben to come with us, at that BKX, because we already had it planned. We were going, right?
Yeah.
And then the next year it became Keeper Karaoke.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so sometimes the thing that you love to do will be something that a vendor will take over planning and make it like so much more extraordinary. And so the following year I was like, well, I don't have to do karaoke. So you see Kirsten's painting in the background. I was like, I also enjoy paint night. I'm going to plan a paint night for people that want to come. So, sometimes for me, having something planned helps my introvertness, right? Because I know it's going to be a small smaller group. It's capped out at this size. You know, so that help me to relieve some of that anxiety.
Yeah. I think for me, like I just love this group and I love all the things that we get to do. But when I think about some pivotal moments at these conferences, I think of Heidi pulling me aside and we're always in between like chit chatting and, just really challenging me. Like, when are you going to hire somebody, Melissa? Like, you're ready. And I'm like, I can't. You know, it's that feeling of what if they don't do it right? Like, my clients, like, it has to be done this way. And for a while, she would just challenge me on that. Her and Honey both were like, we're waiting, Melissa, we're waiting. And I had all these excuses, and there was this accountability to say, hey, and when I did it, they were right there to celebrate with me. And like, not just the first hire, the second, the third, like, just, so it's been just amazing, to have that. And then I think of, Katie Rhodes, who is also one of my, like, we met at BKX, and she just continues to be somebody I reach out to. We could go a month and a half without even speaking. And then we're talking on the phone or through Facebook, whatever it is. And it's like, we have been best friends forever. Like, I don't just talk business with her. Like, it's personal stuff, like, Jeremy and Kristen were talking about, like, that there's this bond that you form with these people, and it goes way beyond business, and it's just amazing. And I just love people, and I love the people that I've met, but I also love meeting new people. So all the new people that are coming in, it's like, come on, join us. Like, you're going to have a great time. Like, be a part of this. So that's really important.
Absolutely. And I'm hearing a theme here about, one, everyone that's at the conference is like you guys. They're going to be a little nervous at first, maybe, but they're all there to better themselves in their business. And two, also to make this conference, yours, taking ownership of it. You don't necessarily have to follow the schedule, but also you can, take everything outside of the conference. You can go get drinks and do karaoke afterwards. You can have these networking opportunities. You can have these relationships like you talked about, Melissa, with Heidi kind of pressing forward on you a little bit about hiring people. I think that that's something that you can only get when you're in person with others. Now, another question I had was, what is one idea that you got from a conference that actually ended up getting you some results in your business? Something that you learned you didn't know before. Maybe it made you money or gave you the right direction for your business. So just maybe talk about that a little bit. What's the most profitable idea you've gotten from a conference?
We'll let Kirsten back in.
Sorry, I don't know what's happening. All of a sudden, my screen was going black and everything. I came in just at the right time because I have an answer to this question. So last year at the Scaling New Heights conference, I've been very upfront about my fangirl obsession with Dawn Brolin. And I'm very jealous of Jeremy because they're besties and I'm not quite on that level with her yet. And I'm very jealous. Anyway, but I attend like pretty much every session because she's just amazing. And she has a tax practice, and she has been talking for a couple of years now about moving to relationship-based pricing. And I'm like, okay, that's all fine and great. How does that work with tax? And so this last conference that I went to, that's what her session actually talked about, was kind of the logistics behind that. And I went up to her afterwards because I'm a freak, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to implement this, and I've got this whole issue with my flooring, and I'm going to implement this, and this is going to make a difference, and I'm going to replace the flooring in my house as a result of all this, and I'm going to come back and show you pictures of my flooring. And she's like, okay, but anyway, and it's been working. Shut up, Jeremy. It's been working. And I'm going to take pictures of my flooring once it's in. Now we got to get it in. But anyway, I'm very excited about the trajectory of my business. And this is one of the things that has really helped, is this like relationship-based pricing for my tax practice.
Awesome.
I go to me, twofold of niching, right? Like when you start beginning, that's hard, right? Like you think, I'm going to block off all these people and I'm closing my market down. And when somebody finally beats you enough time over the head, to say like, no, you will be so much better because you're so focused and you're talking to your people and all of that. So like that one fold, but then two, meeting the people at the conference that serve the other niches, right? Like that has been amazing for us is like, if I get a plumber, I don't want to do plumbing. Like, hey, do you know my friend Cheryl? She loves plumbers and she's fantastic at it. But also all the people that I know outside of a couple of them don't want to touch nonprofits with a 10-foot pole. So that has been something where it's like, hey, I have this nonprofit, you know, Jeremy, he will take care of you and do that. So like that has been a huge game shifter for us is just building that relationship and having that synergies between us to be like, you're good at that. You should talk to them. I'm good at this. Please have them talk to me. And we know, even though like, and there's no expectation either. I just got a message from Brandy the other day, Brandy Derrick, saying like, hey, I sent somebody your way. We're having a call with them today at some point. But they're also like, we know each other. There's no expectation. Everybody won't be a fit. She's not going to come back and be like, oh, why didn't you serve them or anything like that. I'm sure we'll have a great conversation if it goes well or if it doesn't and why. But we know like, hey, just the opportunity of getting this in front of the other person, you know, at least you're getting them to a competent person, even if it's not the right fit. That they're not that person you refer is not going to be like, why'd you send me to this idiot that knows nothing about what I'm doing, right? So I think that's been huge for us.
I think for me, one of the things that I remember is when Justin spoke at the conference. First of all, it was so authentic and so just real. Like I just was like, I could not like turn away from everything he was saying. And, you know, back to the basics of, for me at that point, kind of being newer, it was a, you know, twofold of like marketing as well. And how do you do that? And I knew like that he was really big into BNI. And so just listening to him and getting to talk to him about, well, how do I, you know, what does that look like? And just jumping in and doing that. Really, my networking group has been a huge, huge piece of my business just launching. Like those referrals, once you start getting them, they just, you know, keep going. But then realizing in that it can't just be this is the only way I market. There's got to be this whole different, you know, so whether it's your pro advisor, whatever it looks like, but it's got to be constant. And even if there are times when you're like, I can't do one more thing. Nope. Keep pushing, keep marketing because there may be a lull in something and you're not getting anything. And all of a sudden, you know, you're sending out like 6 proposals and you're like, what's happening? And that's when Heidi is saying, see, Melissa, there's a way you should have hired somebody. So, but that's like, I just remember thinking, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do what they say, regardless if I think I have the capacity, and I'll worry about that later. You know, just get it out there and take on what I can. And then you also learn real quick that you don't need everybody. You don't need every proposal that you send out. Because sometimes you're like, yeah, I'm going to take a pass on you, but thanks.
Isn't that a great place to be? Like,
yes.
We recently had a prospect that over the course of a year, it probably would have been $100,000 engagement. Like she had so much going on. We had a whole bunch of cleanup and anyway, and she ended up going a different direction. And we were relieved because the further we talked with her, the hotter of a mess we realized she was. And I was like, I remember a time when I would have been like, oh my gosh, we'll do anything, whatever, you know, just to get this deal. And it would have been a horrible experience. And we probably would have ended up, you know, not liking each other. Like as it is, when I see her at a niche conference, I'll be like, oh, hey, you know, we still have, it just ended up not being a good fit, which I'm glad of, but it's a nice place to be where I can let that go and be okay with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and something I wanted to point out, something that you said, Melissa, it's almost like going to these conferences is like a continuing education in itself, you know, knowing market in something like BNI versus another avenue. You know, a lot of times people, I'll see them in the BL family, new students will ask like, well, how do I make this happen? And their question is a very specific, very personalized sort of question that requires the same kind of answer. You get that kind of answer when you hear it from someone like you're talking about with Justin Boynton. You get that sort of input of, here's how I made it work in my business. Here's how I was able to market well in my business. And that's something that you get from talking to somebody, seeing their experience, seeing what worked, what didn't. And I think that there's no better way of doing that than getting in person to do that. That's just sort of an observation that I've had from going to a couple of these conferences.
So at Scaling this past year, I went to a session on what happens when you can't run your business, whether that be temporary or long term or whatever, and kind of that emergency planning type of thing. And it was really eye-opening because, I had to implement something like that. My mom passed away during tax season, right after we bought our house in Arkansas. So dealing with all of that, literally just like called that person that I met at the very first conference at Ben's house. And I was like, hey, remember when you said you would be my person, tag, you're in. I'm going radio silent, and like hopefully things don't fall apart. And thankfully I have contracting team and stuff, and they just kind of picked up, and clients barely knew I was gone.
That happened to Carol when she got in her car wreck.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But it really like made me give a harder look at like, I need to make videos on like, how do I pay contractors? How do I, so that person can step in and do that. And so right now I'm stepping in for a friend. I'm her person. She had a surgery that like, some complications that like, put her where she can't do for her clients right now. And
is person Kim, or is it a different? Okay,
different person. Yeah.
Okay.
And so kind of stepping in, so it's making me realize, as being that person stepping in, a lot of those things that I was missing. But again, this is a person that I met at a conference, and if I didn't meet her at a conference, would she have had that person feel trusted to call on?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's difficult to build that trust if you never meet them in person.
Oh
yeah. In my opinion.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Like her husband and my husband and her, like we all hung out, so, we bonded. So yeah.
Excellent. Okay. So I have to go take care of my daughter for 1 second. So I'm going to edit this part out. But my next question for you guys is, what's the best piece of advice someone has given to you at BKX or any of these other bookkeeper business owner conferences?
Best piece of advice.
I gave the best piece of advice.
There you go.
I'm honest, and I just live by it. Leading with your why, and making those decisions for your business based upon that. Because if your why is time, and your why is taking on 10 more clients doesn't get you that time, right? Working on your business on efficiency and automation, and that gets you your time, right? So like, where do you focus your efforts, right? So I think that was probably the best piece of advice that I gave. And I wish someone would have given it to me earlier, because sometimes we make decisions based upon what everyone else is doing, because, we see their success, or, whatever, we see like, the Honans hit 1 million, now they're going on to 2, and it's like, I want to be that. No, I don't want to be that. I do not want to be the person that has to manage a team of like 30 people to be able to do. I don't want that for myself. But, so that don't compare yourself to others, and make sure it's still your journey is probably that best piece of advice.
Yeah.
All right. Someone else can follow that.
I don't know. I can't think of any single best piece of advice, but I think one thing that kind of like, because I've just been to either so many conferences or so many like BKE events, or, just talking to so many people. I've learned so much from so many people that I think it all comes together, that think outside the box. Like, for example, we do I take idea from Jason Statt's podcast, which is to schedule our tax returns during the year so that we're not trying to beat this, March 15th, April 15th deadline. And I have people say, I want to schedule my return in May, and that's when we're going to do their tax return, and we'll just extend them, and it's fine. Or we don't have like 9 to 5 work hours, because I don't work 9 to 5. I can't work 9 to 5. I homeschool my kids. I have one that's finally taking his driving test tomorrow.
Oh,
Yes, I'm so excited because I have to drive him to the freaking gym every day. And so I'm in the car all the time. So anyway, what I'm saying is think outside the box. You don't have to do things the way that they've always been done. If something isn't working, find a different solution that might be a little bit weird, but it's your business and you can do things a little bit differently from the way that everybody else does it. And you can just absorb all sorts of different ideas and put it together to what works for you.
yeah, absolutely.
I think for me, especially first starting out, it was setting goals.
Yes.
I just think that if you write it down, if you have it somewhere where you see it, if you tell somebody that these are your goals and they can hold you accountable, then you can make it reality. Now, I remember when I first started, I was on the premier calls and I said, I had just finished the class and I started in August. I finished it in October, I think. And I said I was going to have 5 clients by the end of the year. And everyone was like, okay, that's good. That's a hefty goal. I had 3. I didn't make the goal, but can you imagine if I had said, I just want 1? Right. So I try to set them higher because I don't want it to be too easy and I want something to work towards. Because then when I got that second, I still had to work. It wasn't like, I got 2. Same thing with the CFO. I started it in November and I said, I'm going to have 3 clients by January. I only had 2, but that was huge. So I think goal setting is something that I was told, you got to write it down. In the very beginning of the course, they talk about that, it's important. It is. There's something in your brain that it triggers you to say, yep, this is my goal. And if you don't, then you're not as motivated. You don't really have anything written out. You don't have anything that inspires you. A vision board. I just made my vision board for this year. Those are things, hiring is on my vision board because I'm not done hiring. I've hired. I'm not done. So I think that's something that was really impactful for me and something that I've implemented and I won't stop. It's not like you just, I'm doing this. I'm doing well. So you can never stop setting goals. You always want to attain. I think, Chris, didn't you talk about all that kind of stuff and I remembered we were part of setting goals and it wasn't necessarily even the business stuff. It was just everyday habit setting of doing things. And it's all that stuff that really is a combination to make you better at what you do. It's the little habits that turn in, to these goals and everything else. So that's what I remember.
One of the big pieces of advice is that mastermind channel and starting a mastermind, because that has been the gift that keeps giving. Our mastermind, we're still meeting to this day. I don't know how long you guys been.
I have, a couple years.
But we always have, we constantly run into problems with business owners, and so to have a core group of people that you can look forward to meeting with every month to hash those things out. And at least sometimes we don't walk away with an answer, but we walk away with we've got here to tackle that problem. So for me, I think that was a great piece of advice. Start one, and so if you're not in one, I think it's a great thing to aim for because if there's people in the same boat as you, I think we're all pretty close in our business, where we're at in our business, so it's very relatable for us to hash out these problems. So for me, that's just been just like keeps getting, and I look forward to it every month.
Yeah, there's nothing like for goals. There's nothing like someone to hold you accountable. There's also nothing like telling a group of people your goals publicly and, having to follow up on it, and carry it out. And like you said too, Chris, with the mastermind group, just having people that you regularly meet with and bounce those ideas. Like you said, you may not have an answer from everyone, but you get refreshed perspective. So yeah, it's all really great stuff, guys.
Yeah, and to add to this, it's finding your tribe of people, right? And you could only do that in person, right? You don't bond the same way, even in this atmosphere, and we're all friends, right? And I'll see you guys, but it just doesn't happen, right? And I like to say that 80% of the success I had is things I've stolen from my friends and made it my own, and 20% has been my good ideas that I've done for that. So I think that has been huge. And then if you want to say, just personally, the one thing that was the most impact for me was actually from Ben early in it and just met me and knew me and be like, what are you doing? quit your damn job and go all in on this and you're going to be great. Right. Like it was like, and I was an accountant then. And I think if nothing else with Bookkeeper Launch, it teaches you, you don't need to be an accountant. All this stuff is learnable, right? You can do all these things, but he's like, you're way ahead of the game of some of the people that can even be successful here. Just cut the cord, go out and do it. And you're not going to look back and do it. So that was if there was a single moment that was most impactful, it was that. But again, just stacking all of that information that you learn from people in the place, making it your own, that just rises it a little bit every day.
Was
Absolutely.
that on the podcast, Jeremy? Was that when you were a guest on the podcast, or was
I
that
think it
separate?
was.
Because I think
It
I
probably
remember
was.
hearing this conversation.
Yeah, it probably was there. In public.
It's funny that another quote from Ben, kind of tying what you said at the beginning with something to do with Ben, that stealing ideas from your friends and making it your own. One of my favorite Ben quotes that he definitely stole from someone else, coincidentally, is "Good artists borrow, great artists steal." So that's that's great. That makes me think, what has been some of the funniest anecdotes or stories or things that have happened to you guys going to these live events?
That is not for public.
Yeah, like
That is not. It's not for recorded and playback later.
So we were at karaoke this one time, and like literally the whole like bar ended up like kind of joining into our like group. So, sometimes it's not just, the people within the bookkeeping community that you're impacting, but like these other.
I was just talking about that with the man that was dancing with the OPP.
He like literally got on stage and was dancing and
Yes.
like
Yes.
crazy stuff like that. And I mean, I think that so impacting people and bringing joy outside of the community of our book craziness. Yeah.
I think karaoke alone is worth the price of admission. And this is actually, yeah, exactly. I actually do have an anecdote myself. So I think it was BKX 2023. It was in Dallas, and I may or may not edit out the names of this celebrity, but it was a reality celebrity couple that was guest speakers, Willie and Corey Robertson from Duck Dynasty. And what's funny is that we had a thing where we were meeting them afterwards, but before that, even that very morning that they were going to go on stage and talk and discuss how the first hire he ever had was a bookkeeper, I walk into the elevator and he's right there. Now, he looks normally like a jolly guy with a beard, but he looked so ticked off and like, don't talk to me, don't anything like that. Yeah, I think it's just, he's probably tired. They have to travel all the time. He really just looked like a normal person though. And I did a double take and I was like, is that Willie Robertson? He didn't have the long hair. He didn't have the bandana. He was just dressed like a regular PFG wearing dad from the South. So I didn't know. And then I confirmed when I met him later on that it was him and did pictures with him. But I thought that was so funny. That it was like, I'm just seeing this guy that's one of the biggest reality stars that's speaking at our conference. And he just looks like a normal guy. Morning, probably didn't have his coffee in the elevator. I thought that was funny.
Yeah. And that's, I think that actually speaks, this has nothing to do with what you just asked, but it just reminded me. When we come to these conferences, we think of like, oh my gosh, Jeremy Van Grohl, Kim, we think of all these like big people, Melissa Honan, and they're just normal people. Like, I mean, Melissa, her stories are, she'll tell you straight up, like of things that happen on calls with people that she'll talk about from the stage, that, I mean, she's just a real person, and it's just like Willie Robertson. We think of, and it was an early morning. He hadn't had his coffee or whatever, or that could have been just his resting face. Maybe he has RBF. We don't know, whatever. I have RBF. And it's so funny to think of celebrities as having RBF, So anyway, that's one of the things that I like about conferences or any, it doesn't even have to be a conference. It can be just an in-person gathering, a retreat, like, hey, there's a bunch of us getting together in your local area, just getting together and meeting people. And you can find out everybody's just the same. When you get right down to it, everybody's the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
That reminds me when I came to my first conference, And keep in mind, I had been on the premiere call. So I was talking with Ben and Justin weekly. And so you're a little bit starstruck, like, oh, these are the guys that I talk to every week, but I'm on, we're on a call like this. And so when I get there, of course there's nerves, but they put their pants on the same way as the rest of us, just normal people. But I go up to Justin. I'm just so excited to meet him. And I was like, hey, how are you? Blank face. He was like, you are? And I'm like, it's Melissa. We talk every Thursday. And he's like, oh my gosh. He's going to be so mad that I brought this up. He was so mortified. He's like, I'm so sorry. You look different in person.
Oh,
he's like, you're shorter than what I thought.
Oh no, Justin. Well, I mean, he's incredibly tall.
Yeah,
So.
He's like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. So that was like the big, funny story. Every time I saw him, I was like, yeah, you don't remember me, even though for the last 6 months, every Thursday we've talked on, So it was funny, but I had that same oh, wow. All these people. I mean, I think even with you guys, oh my gosh, they've been doing this so long and here I am, I'm this newbie and they have all this, you get a little nervous.
We're 2 years ahead of you.
But there's all this wisdom that I was just like, let me just hang out with this cool group because they know so much. I know Jeremy's like, man, do we? But that's what but then when I get to know you guys, it's like, oh yeah, you have had the same questions, the same thoughts, and you are just a little bit ahead of me.
Than the rest of us.
What was that?
You just get to fail faster because you got to learn from all of our mistakes.
That's a good point. Well, that's awesome. Now, just for the sake of time, I do want to respect everyone's time as we come up on the hour. My last question that I want you guys to give your take on is if someone is on the fence about attending a bookkeeping conference, what is a piece of advice you would give to them?
Just go.
Yeah, just do it.
I mean,
especially if you're feeling resistance, that's probably a sign that you should go.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
like anything else, growth comes through doing hard things, right?
Right.
And again, for me, it's still hard to do it now, but find a baby step and go to it and just I think Melissa made a good point, make a goal, right? Am I going to meet one person today? Am I going to sit at a lunch at one table and get a card or whatever it is? And I think most of us will be there. If you see any of us, please be like, hey, I need to talk to someone and a friend. We will wrap you right in and sit you at a table. And I just do it. Take the jump.
well, and even for example, GrowCon this year is May 4th through the 6th, I think. And usually I would fly in the day before, early afternoon, start hanging out with everybody and stuff. Well, my kid has an award ceremony on May 3rd in the afternoon. And if I was typically on the fence, they'd be like, oh, I don't know. Oh, my kid's got an award. Can't make it. Nope. I'm going to the award ceremony, heading straight to the airport, flying out. Won't get there till about 9:00, but I'm still going.
We'll have a beverage waiting for you.
We'll
have a beverage waiting for you.
Not too bad. I've become a lightweight. I'm just saying. But I'm not going to let that stop me. Now, if I had a graduation ceremony or something on the day, then okay, fine. But just because I'm oh, I don't know. I feel like sometimes people look for excuses to not go.
It's
I felt as with GrowCon, I almost didn't go, but funny enough, I actually drafted into my digital nomad journey.
Perfect.
Salt Lake City right now. I was like, well, I'll just go there for a couple months, and that way I'll be there. So,
Awesome.
There you go.
I don't know what comes out of these decisions to go or what really.
I think you got to think of it as an investment to your business.
Yeah.
So there are some things that you think you need in your business, and maybe you've made that decision where you're like, I probably could have done without that. This is something that you can't do without. This is an investment that will help you make better decisions as your business grows and as you get started, whatever situation you're in. If you're just starting out, if you're 1 year in, if you have 3 clients, if you have 20 clients, if you have 100, it's an investment and it's important.
You know, I think back, BKX didn't start having conferences until, many of us were in business for several years. And, and while there are other accounting conferences out there, I never sought them out or went to one, right? Because it's I don't know anyone that's going to be there or whatever. But at least, when we started the BKX, it's oh, well, I'm going to know a few people. So that makes it a little easier. And, but the first event that I had to go to, I did the Starstruck stuff too and everything. And so it's the investment that you're making into your business and into yourself, because a lot of times that professional development, the relationships that you're going to build, be intentional about it. I want, like Chris talked about masterminds, right? If that's your only goal is to meet 3 to 4 other people who are also want to get into a mastermind, do it and put it out there. Set your goal, like Melissa said, and put it in writing, put it on in the BL family Facebook page or whatever, and make it come to happen, make it come,
Absolutely.
Maybe you could even put out there, and say, hey, when I come to GrowCon, I'm looking for people who are wanting to start a mastermind. If that's you, let's meet up maybe at GrowCon and talk about what we might be able to do. I don't know.
Right.
I'll
be in the hotel lobby at this time.
Exactly.
And I'll have a little sign that says mastermind.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
I think
Well,
good,
guys,
good to think about, just maybe sum up, is I think all of us have had decent trajectories with our businesses, right? Every single time after one of these, it's gone up, right? That's been the highest trajectories right after one of these where you're jazzed up and doing the things. That will be the largest peak, and then you'll kind of click out again, and then you get some more ideas from people and do that. So that to me just speaks volumes.
Absolutely. Well, guys, thanks so much for joining. I know that Kim had to leave a little prematurely there, but it's been a pleasure to hear from you guys. I can't wait to see you guys on May 4th through 6th at GrowCon in Salt Lake City, beautiful Utah. And I appreciate all the advice and input that you gave. This is something I think helps out everyone in the bookkeeping industry. Go to those live conferences. And for the audience out there, come to GrowCon. We would love to have you there. Also, please subscribe, comment, and everything helps out. Till next time, guys.